All right, the Reds, it is the preview show, previewing Liverpool v Norwich City, Wednesday at Anfield, 8:15 kick-off, a little bit of a late one there, so make sure that doesn't catch you out in some way. But yeah, the FA Cup, we are bidding to beat Norwich for the 4th time this season, and that would be the first time we've beaten a team in that combination of fixtures, 2 in the league, 1 in the League Cup, 1 in the FA Cup. So yeah, Norwich, probably sick of the sight of the Reds here.
And will have been for some time. I mean, it's not, you haven't got to go that far from when it felt like Suarez would have a laugh against them every single time they played. I think for them, this is genuinely, can you be bothered?
Yeah.
If they don't sell out their away allocation, if they give any tickets back, what I don't want is any snide remarks from anyone. No. It is perfectly reasonable for the East Anglican contingent to look at this, 8:15. If it was a Goodison Park, I'd feel a bit more like, well, there might be a game of footy that might ensue that they can get a result out of. This, no. Almost certainly not. My only worry on stuff like that is, I always remember the 4-3 against Palace in the semi-final comes the same season that we beat them 9-0. That can happen in football. Like, a team can just sort of decide that's enough and enough's enough. But from a Norwich point of view, if this was the Carrow Road Wrap, I'd be downbeat, to say the least, coming into this one. The idea of the distance that there will be to travel, the idea of all of it, really. They're in a relegation scrap. Do they even want to be in the 6th round of the FA Cup and have games in hand to deal with? I mean, the answer to that should always be yes, but again, you could understand if that wasn't the case. If you are Norwich, you've got whatever the opposite of a circle in the calendar is around this one. You're almost trying to rub the day out and wish it didn't quite exist. And listen, we've just got to not allow any doubt to creep in, I think, Gareth. If they're turning up with that mindset, and I think they might be, we've got to make sure that they're right from minute one.
Yeah, because the big deal for them is Brentford, isn't it? And that game, they, like you say, they're in the dogfight.
For both teams, that as well. It's such a big game for both of those teams. I think it's absolutely massive, that, and that is a priority well more than this one. So there's a small gap between those fixtures. That should be on the telly, by the way. There's a small gap between those fixtures. And so you end up in a situation where, for them, Dean Smith's priority, like literally the work he's doing in training, arguably today, should be about Brentford. It shouldn't be about Liverpool.
Yeah, and there is a reason there for that. Norwich are 13-1 to win this game. Liverpool are 6-1 on, and the draw is 7-1. Mentioned already, of course, that 19th of February, not too long ago, we beat them 3-1 at Anfield. You probably remember that one. Earlier in the season, beat them 3-0 in the League Cup and 3-0 at their place as well in the Premier League. So every single game we played against them, we managed to score 3 goals. He made 7 changes when we played them in the league, from the Inter Milan game to that game. And we struggled a little bit for momentum, didn't we, in the first half? Obviously, the substitutions second half around the hour, Thiago, etc., make the difference. We win the game after they took the lead. On this one, regarding the team, it's a bit of a difficult one to predict, really, because with them, you think they probably rest a few key players for exactly the reason we just talked about. For us, we've got 6 players that did 2 hours there on Sunday in the League Cup final. So you've got that to consideration, take into consideration. There's only 3 players for Liverpool. I was just looking there who have played the 2 90s in the FA Cup so far. So you've got Virgil van Dijk, Kelleher, and Konate, who've done the full 180 minutes in the FA Cup so far for Liverpool. Everyone else is, a lower variation of. So Curtis has been involved in both games. Firmino has, Minamino has, Robertson has, and that's it. And then you're, various degrees of 1, etc. With this one, what do you reckon? Konate?
Go even further back. I'm not convinced. I think there's a chance Alisson starts. Because if Alisson doesn't start, he's not played a game for 10 days.
Yeah.
So I think there's a chance Alisson starts. Yeah, rhythm and all that. So you go all the way back to before you even do the goalkeeping. I think under normal circumstances, Kelleher starts the 5th round of the FA Cup game. I don't think it's about resting Kelleher, but it's about the fact that you're going to be asking Alisson to go against West Ham and Inter Milan back-to-back games really close together, and you won't want him to have got himself a little bit blunted. So I still, if you ask me to, bet on it right now, I'd go probably with Kelleher, but I don't think it's as cut and dried as, well, it'll definitely be Kelleher, do you know what I mean? And then Konate, probably. I don't think you want Matip to go again, even though he's just done 90, because it's 3 back-to-backs. And then I think you have Gomez next to him. I think if you're Gomez, you're desperate for this game. And I think you also want it to be at centre-half.
Yeah, Salah, Fabinho, Robertson, Van Dijk, Trent and Kelleher played the 2 hours. Diaz and Matip play 90 or 90 plus in the case of Diaz. It looked like maybe there was an injury reason for Diaz going off because he's playing well. Then you see him holding his leg, and then the next minute he's not on the pitch. We obviously know what happened to Thiago beforehand, and really sad to see him in tears. Obviously wanted to get involved. Don't quite know what that is yet. Firmino, it seems as well, won't be fit for this one. So sort of working backwards from the weekend then on like numbers wise, minutes wise. Origi's only on for 24 minutes. Konate's on for half an hour. Milner does 41, Jota 41, Elliott 42. They all sound like good bets then to be involved, maybe.
Yeah, I think he's gonna. I think there's some players he needs to pick for a football match. I think you can look at literally the lads who didn't get to be involved, both off the bench, and you can look at Gomez and Jones, who were in the squad for the League Cup final in the end. Elliott was meant to not be in the squad and then is. I think you can therefore expect Gomez, Elliott and Jones, I think, to all feature from the start. I think it feels like it's got a big bit of James Milner in it, possibly playing at number 6.
Chamberlain?
I wonder if Chamberlain might play off the right. So I wonder if he might do Chamberlain off the right, Minamino off the left and Divock in the middle. Gordon then on the bench. Again, as I keep saying in these competitions, 5 subs. So I think you might see Jota from the bench again. So the idea of Jota's from the bench, but he might get himself sort of 35, 40 minutes in there as well, rather than just a little bit, or even go a bit earlier, maybe go at half time around that. And I think as you begin to sort of work that out, you're going, okay, I've got the shape of a team here that he's going to go with. I think Morton would like to be involved. I think it's possibly the last game he's going to get to be involved in this season. And then I think the big risk for him, he might not see it as a risk because we know the togetherness in this Liverpool squad is possibly at right back, where if Gomez is going to play centre back, and I think you want to play Gomez at centre back, then you're going to be going with Bradley on that right hand side. I think that's where you end up there, is that Bradley plays and then Tsimikas on the left, and I think that to me feels like the shape of the team. There's still question marks, it could be that it's Chamberlain in midfield, Gordon off the right hand side, Milner in at 6, and then Jones and then Elliott to come on quite early somewhere in amongst that manager's minutes. I'm not saying what I've said there's definitely cut and dried or anything like that, but I think when you begin to think, the other thing that wouldn't surprise me as well is Mane on the bench. I think Salah won't be at Anfield. I think he won't be involved in the setup. I think that the same could be said for Van Dijk, but Matip and Mane on the bench, for instance, if they're called upon, and then Mane if he feels as though he needs him for the last half an hour. If it is a bit tight, if you're able to look to the bench and it's Mane and Jota coming on after Norwich have done an hour, that sort of appeals to you, doesn't it, a bit?
I think as well, he's got to be careful, hasn't he? And I'm sure he's mindful of this, that, we've created a buzz now, we've won a cup, we're still on the coattails of City, 2-0 up against Inter Milan, all of that. There's this momentum building now, and you don't want to tinker with it too much that you offer some kind of opportunity for Norwich, who we've already said don't really care, but do you know what I mean? Like you want to win this, is what I'm saying now. All this, the debate about whether the cups matter and all that, fuck all that.
The games are now coming. Play the games and win them.
Yeah, we won loads of trophies now. We've got one. Fancy all of them, don't we?
Yeah.
1 of 4 done. Let's win the lot.
I think that's, the manager's going to get, before this, he's going to get questions about the quadruple. And that's something that always, I thought, made Guardiola prickly when he's been in this territory. And I think it might make Klopp a bit prickly as well, because he'd be very much one game at a time. What doesn't help is it seems very clear his footballers are talking and thinking about the quadruple. So, that is, whether he likes it or not, that is the case. And Liverpool are Liverpool, to make history at a club like Liverpool, you've got to go big. And I think that they are very focused on this. And that's why it wouldn't surprise me if there is maybe a bit of a stronger bench than, I think there'll be a team, and it wouldn't surprise me if the bench is stronger in lots of areas than the team, so that if he needs them, they're there. I think the other thing as well is with West Ham being Saturday 5:30, and we know that West Ham are a good side, they're one of the 2 teams that have beaten us so far this season. The thing I also think is, the thing he won't want off the back of Sunday is any flirting with 120 minutes.
No, fuck that. I don't want that either.
No, well, you're getting in the ground at 8:15. You've got to get home at some point.
I want to get this raid.
Yeah, I want to be able to get the train home, and Jürgen, use this, pin these comments on the dressing room wall. Everyone needs to get the train home, is, I think, a big deal in amongst this for the supporters, but I think they won't want 120 either. So it wouldn't surprise me if a little bit like, for instance, the game, as we see it in the 4th round, if there's a little bit of the cavalry coming at some point, the idea that if we need that, it'll be there. Maybe even a little bit like the Leicester game in the the fifth round of the League Cup, where it wasn't going swimmingly, but at some point the subs were going to be made. I think there could be an element of that. That's why I say, when it wouldn't surprise me, for instance, if Morton was involved from the outset, and maybe not getting the 90, but the idea that he's there to do 60. Also, he plays against them in their ground in the League Cup game, and we win it 3-0. I think we can make the changes, but I do think that they will want it to be. They do want to be in everything now, and I think it sort of suits them. This is the smallest big game that they've got left, and what I mean by that is from now on they're all big games. So this is the smallest big game they've got left, but they will be seeing it as a big game because they'll be seeing it as a big opportunity to go all the way.
Yeah, we've just been lit up there, and now back not. Just a little bit more on Norwich. They knocked Charlton out, and then they knocked Wolves out, which is quite impressive. At Wolves as well. In terms of the league form, lost the last 3. Drew with Palace before that, but lost to Southampton, and 2-0, but convincing 2-0.
Yeah, they battered them.
Yeah. Obviously lost 3-1 to us, and then they lost 4-0 at home to Man City. I always say this when I look at results like that, it just doesn't feel a lot of fun to be Norwich right now, does it?
No, I think that they have a little run earlier under Dean Smith where it looks like it is something, and I think that he has his pattern to play. They were playing a bit of 4-4-2 at that time, and Adam Edar's had an injury then. I think he's close to being back to being available for them. But in the same way for the 3-1 against us or the 4-0 against City, Dean Smith was sort of making noises like we could risk him. But why would you against Liverpool or City? And again, 5th round of the League Cup. This is back to any of their players who've got even the slightest question mark against them, any of their better players. It will be the priority is Brentford. We want you fully fit for that. And I think that's the thing that you keep coming back around to. And similarly, like you say, it isn't a lot of fun at the minute, but they're not out of it at the bottom. And I think that's where, if you are Smith, and I think this is where the new manager bounce thing is always this idea he comes in straight away and it's all great. I think right now, if you're a Norwich supporter, you've got more hope now, even though there's fewer games and less points up for grabs than you had 8 games in under Farker at the start of the season. I think there's more hope around the camp that somehow there can be a run. I think there's still, they'll be, I think, the favourites to go down at the moment. And there's a reason for that.
I mean, it probably won't be the same side for all the reasons we've already talked about, but there was bits at Anfield, wasn't there, in the league game where they did all right.
They look well coached.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is, they look well coached, look well organised. The positive when they need to be positive, the no nonsense when they need to be no nonsense. They're just ultimately, as a group of players, they may well be the 20th best group of players in the country, if you see what I mean. I think if they go down from this point, I think they'll go down as the best version of themselves, and that wasn't going to happen under the previous manager, however well he did for them when they were in the Championship. Credit to Smith, and also after the last game, Klopp couldn't have talked them up more. Yeah, I read a couple of things on Norfolk Live, not that I'm a keen reader of those pages, but they were taking some post-match Klopp comments where Klopp said they're brave on the ball, Dean's got them really well organised, they think they can score a goal. He was really effusive about them.
Well, the lad who scored, Rashika, is it? Yeah. So I was impressed by him.
He's a footballer. He's been their best player this season, and he's been the best player under Smith as well. But again, I wouldn't start him against Liverpool.
No, you wouldn't play him.
And so, you end up in these circles for this one for Brentford. I think it's almost like, and I think we rise above this really well these days, but to me, this isn't to say there should be any, and there won't be amongst that Liverpool squad. They'll have enormous respect, they'll work ever so hard, there'll be genuine humility there, they've got to earn everything. I think it might almost be better for us to view it as though we're coming up against a side who are 9th in the Championship with a decent run of form, because their next crop down of players that's around the level they're at, maybe playoff level in the Championship, decent run of form. So that's what we've got to go at, how we've got to go at this. And, for me, it should be a Liverpool win. It really should be a Liverpool win. The only slight thing I always have when you make changes, you said before about it being a bit disjointed.
Yeah.
The other thing then, in it being a bit disjointed, is just how are you scoring a goal? Flip side of that is Minamino and Origi this season have scored goals.
Yeah. Prediction then?
I think it's going to be 3-0 again, which would just be, it just honestly, if you were a canary at that point, both the bird and the football supporter, you'd just be feeling like enough has been enough by this stage of proceedings.
I just don't like that coach sit back after being beat 3-0 again. Looking forward to, or not, as the case may be, to Brentford.
I'd take a book. Something to look forward to at least. I'd take a book. Have a film on an iPad on the couch or something.
All the best, lads. Let's hope there's no extra time for your sake and ours. That has been the preview. Let's win the FA Cup as well as the League Cup. Up the Reds.